Hello, welcome to the Cables, Lace and Tails podcast. My name is Sue and I am a maker from Northwestern Wisconsin. Today I am going to discuss two finished objects. I am wearing one, and then I am going to talk about two whips, soon to be cast on, and some thrift store finds. What is going on? I have two finished objects? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So the first thing is the Sailor Swift top by Kutovakika, aka Veronica Lindbergh. She is a Finnish designer. Here is hers. I don't want to take it out of the plastic. She did an I-cord bind off and some waist shaping. I did not. These are the modifications I made. I did a size 6 on top and a size 7 on the bottom. I did take some B-roll of it fit after it's been blocked. So I'm going to try and put that here, and then you can see me walking around and looking silly. So I'm really glad I modified it to a 2x2 rib. I had a really hard time the first time showing this, I think last week, about picking up the stitches around the armhole, and I picked up way too few and used too small of a needle. This time I actually read the instructions, and since I was between sizes, you know, because I did size 6 to the armhole and then I increased down here, so I looked at the directions, and this was the first one I did. I picked up 148 stitches, and I thought, well, in order to get to size 7, I would have to decrease by 2, or if I want to get to size 6, I'm going to have to decrease by 8. And I decided I wanted to be, you know, a little bit more form-fitting. It does show a little bit down there. It's a little bit longer than I expected. Yes and no. I kind of expected it to be, but when I first tried it on before blocking it, it was perfect. So that's something to think about next time. Then, so I picked up 148. I did a row of stockinette, and I decreased 8 evenly around the armhole. And then I did a 2x2 rib. Over here, no matter how much I tried, I could not get 148 stitches on my needle. And after trying over and over and over, which seemed to take an eternity of hours, I counted, and I always came up with 140 or right around there. So since I need 140, why fix it if it ain't broke? So I picked up 140, I did a row of stockinette, and then 2x2 rib, so they're even on both sides. For the neckline, I looked at the two sizes. The 7th size was 154, and the 6th size was 150. So I thought, well, I picked up and I undid, and I picked up and I undid, and I always got to be right around 154. So I thought, all right, I'm just going to do 154. I don't mind a looser neck. I like being, you know, a little bit open, especially on a hot day like today. It's extremely miserable for millions of people around the world. Stay safe, drink water, go to air conditioning somewhere if you don't have it. There are cooling centers. Take care of yourself in this time. The heat really affects a lot of people, and once you get to that certain point, you get really in a lot of trouble. Ask me how I know. Now, I picked up, and I started with 2 knit stitches, and I was supposed to end with 2 purl stitches. But the last 4 stitches, I had purl, 2 knits, and then a knit, so that would not work. So I took the 2 knits and the last 4 stitches, did them together, and made them into purls. So then I ended up with 152 stitches around the neck, which is kind of splitting the difference anyway between the two sizes. And then I just knit until it looked right for me. This isn't the same amount of stitches or rounds, same amount of rounds as here or on the hem. The hem actually has a lot more than on my armhole, and it has more than up here, but it all kind of balances, and they're all kind of similar. So I kept notes. I took my notes and placed plastered them all over. I am really happy with this with this top. I took a long time to finish. The first part went really, really fast. The back yoke, super fast. This part, super fast. I thought this is gonna be a super fast project. I'm gonna get it all done, lickety split. But once I added stitches for the next size up, I was in like the over 200 range. And every time I did more than 3 rounds, I would start hurting my thumb. So that took time, and I just decided, fine, I'll just do 3 rounds and it'll eventually get done. Then it did get done. So I'm very, very pleased that I modified it to the 2 different sizes. I did not want the I-cord bind off. I'm very glad I modified that. When I blocked this, the sweet potato color, this is Patons Linen. I do have the remains somewhere. Patons Linen, oh, here it is. And it's a discontinued yarn. I don't know why they discontinued. I love it. Maybe it was just hard to source the product. I got this before Joann's closed down. It is 65% cotton and 35% linen. On a hot day like today, even though it is a DK weight yarn and it feels kind of dense, it's actually wicking away all the heat, all the sweat, because I have opened up all of the windows and turned on all the lights I could for this video. You may hear fans in the background, but it's a hot day and we're keeping them on. But as soon as I'm done with this video, everything's getting closed up again to conserve energy and keep the cool in, because we just have a simple window AC unit. Now, reading the directions is key. Right? So when I first picked up the sleeve, I didn't read the directions. So then I read the directions and I saw the amount I was supposed to pick up, which then made it all the better. I did use a US 2 for the ribbing and a US 2.5 for the body of the garment here. Now, the second thing I finished was my stripe hype sweater. Also by Kutovakika. This is a very popular pattern. I don't remember when she released it, but she has all these different stripes. She has waist shaping. She has tight cuffs. I didn't want waist shaping. One modified thing. I also decreased the arms my own rate. I did a different amount for the cuff as well, and I did a split hem for the body. I did not do any of the waist shaping, so it is a very boxy sweater. When I tried this on, I do have B-roll. Let's see if I can do this. B-roll. This is the before, and then let's see if I can do this. This is the after. I will put up things if I didn't, okay? We'll see. Now, where was I? Yes. I did the first sleeve. We'll say this is the first sleeve. And it was perfect. And I loved it. And then I did the cuff over here. I was following the directions. And I thought I had 178 stitches. But I was wrong because I counted wrong. And therefore I was wrong because the first cuff had 176 stitches. And this looked wonky and gaping. So I thought, well, that's an easy fix. I will undo the wrong cuff and just, re-knit it. It doesn't take that long. It's not that many rounds. Whoop-de-doo. Oh, it was later the day. I was tired after work. I thought I had the right cuff, and I didn't. So I undid the correct cuff, not the wrong cuff. I was so mad at myself for not realizing what I was doing, not double checking to make sure I had the right arm. So I got the stitches back on the correct needle, which I used a US size 4 for the ribbing. And then over here, I undid the whole thing to this main color which I used a US 6 for, and I used wood needles for the majority of it, except for the cuffs. I did use a shorty set I have, and they're only in metal. So the next day I finished that, and then I looked at my instructions, because I've learned with this one that you have to read the instructions, and I picked up the right amount of stitches for the neckline, and I did a 1x1 rib on all of it. She, in the pattern, I think calls for a twisted rib, and I like twisted rib. I really, really do. But since I was doing a split hem, I didn't want to do a twisted rib on here, so in order for it to all be cohesive, I just did a 1x1. Now, let's see here. Yeah, everything worked out fine. I actually, the collar went on relatively easy. I was surprised. I'm like, I'm gonna have to pick this up 3 or 4 times. No, I got it within the first or maybe second time of picking up. And I was like, this is perfect. I think I had to do it twice because I forgot to link the needles together, and when I was counting, stitches came out, so then I had to repick them up. But so 1.5 times, easy peasy. Now, when I blocked this, the color ran. Did I tell you that the sweet potato ran as well? So the sweet potato ran, but it didn't go on to any of the other things. It just went into the water. This also, the barn door, this also bled quite a bit. It wasn't like, it was like watered down wine color, or like when you have cranberry juice with ice. So I did put a color catcher in that bin. I don't think I needed to, because the color catcher actually didn't pick up any of the color, which I found really interesting. So I did block it in cool water. Now, I had this on right before I started recording, and if you can see, I'm going to see if I can show you with my B-roll, but if not, I'm going to show you now. When I tried this on before blocking, this sat right here. It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. But now after blocking, it sits at here. So the next time I make this, I should have stopped here. Right here. This should have been my last color, and then this should have been the cuff, because that would have been about as much as I needed to decrease. I am not fixing this. This will be nice to wear like when I'm outside at recess or walking the dog, and that the extra cuff right here keeps your hands warm, and it just like regulates your whole body. It is a pain in the butt, because when I'm working, I don't want to have to keep, rolling up my sleeves and doing stuff, because sometimes big floppy sleeves get in the way. So these are things I'm going to make note of for my next stripe hype sweater, which I haven't cast on yet, but I will be casting on soon, because this pattern was lovely. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the construction. I enjoyed following the step-by-step. She does a multiple colors, but you can do a 3 colorway. You can do a 2 colorway. You can do bigger blocks of color. I've seen lots and lots of pictures on Ravelry on the projects page. Now, for my first sweater, I have 4 of the dove left. I have them right here. And I have 3.5 of the barn door left in my thing. Now, I bought all of this yarn during Knit Picks $2 for $6 sales, which they have they just had one in June, and then they have one in November, I believe. You can get on their email list. That's how I know. I'm not an affiliate with Knit Picks. I just like their stuff, and when you can get $2 yarn, all the better. So way back when, I had originally bought mineral heather and barn door heather for the stripe hype pattern. But when I made gauge swatches, I thought that they were too close together in tone, that is why I got the dove heather, which really illuminates each color so much better. You know, I mean, obviously, you know, because this is the first sweater. This will be the second sweater. However, as I was podcasting and then I hit the wrong button and had to start over, I realized that there is a great possibility that I may have enough for a third sweater. What? Maybe for my daughter, maybe for myself. I don't know. But I could mix and match the colors into different ways. I have a gauge swatch down here. So I have a 10-pack of Dove unopened. And then I have, there's only 9 in this one because I used one for a gauge swatch and it's somewhere else. This is part of the gauge swatch. Wow. This was the original gauge swatch I used. These two colors look really nice together. And then I was like, ooh, I really like these two colors. So my thought is like, well, what if I had, you know, 4 and how would it go? Because there's 8. It'd have to be 2, well, that'd be only 6. Somehow I'd have to increase the stitches to about 10 rows each then, maybe. Because if you had 10 here for a block, and then you wanted to have like a stripe here, you'd have to have 4, 2, 4. Things to think about as I'm making my second sweater. Am I casting it on anytime soon? No. I have plenty to do that are smaller. It is super hot, but I will be making a second. I'm very excited to make a second one. It'll be fun. And now that I know I did the 4th size of this pattern. Yes, I did the 4 size of this pattern, but I was looking at it and maybe I will go down to the 3rd size, which is a 45.75 inch bust. And for the large is a 49.5. So maybe something a little bit more form fitting. We'll have to see. That is for a different day to figure out. Now, I am going to go on to 2 whips that I have worked on. I will make an honorable mention for my palette cardigan. I cast it on the sleeve. It's only worth mentioning because there's not much to show. However, we took a road trip, and I will discuss my thrift store finds. We took a road trip on Friday, and today's Tuesday, and I rode on the passenger side, and I need to keep my mind busy when we're on the road because of aforementioned things. I am working on my Musselburgh hat. I'm using 2 strands of Knit Picks palette. It's a fingering weight yarn. It's a 2-ply. This is the colorway Briar Twist. And this was a nice car. This is a nice car knit. I'm doing it with double pointed needles. These are size 8. I get a lot of stuff from Knit Picks because they have sales. And when they have like 30% off needles, then I'm like, woo, yay. Or, you know, if I needed some. And I really wanted a large pair of double pointed needles to make hats or other items. And so I just worked in around, and we just drove about an hour away. And this is a really nice pattern. Now I'll have all the information over here. I'm just enjoying making this. You know, it's a small project that you can do. You have to pay attention because of the 2 strands of yarn. Plus, it does, you know, sometimes you catch the individual plies of the yarn. I will say that. I do have I have 4 skeins total to work on this, maybe more, but for sure this should be enough. And, well, I have two unballed skeins. So that was a really good time knitting on the road. I got quite a number of rows done. It is a simple pattern. You can do different techniques on starting it. I just did a long tail cast on and wove in the top. I didn't do a magic circle or Judy's magic cast on or any of the other things that they said. I thought, it's a hat. It's a hat. I'm not selling it. It's for me. I will mention, I really want it to be a long, thick brim because my ears get super cold in the winter. Now, I started working on this again last night, the Ranunculus. I had put it off to the side because I really wanted to focus on my other two objects because they were so close to being done. And presently I'm on round 31. I am using my Knit Picks, not affiliated, Upcycle Alpaca Blend. These were $10 skeins that I got for $2 a piece. I'm telling you, get on their email list. On their website, they say, don't call unless it's urgent. And I called and I said to the lady, I know this isn't technically urgent. And she said, it's urgent because it has to deal with yarn. And I said, you're right, it is urgent. And we laughed. So, you know, they have good customer service. So this is the color Seashell. She sells by the seashore. Okay, so I'm using the recommended US 10 or 6mm needle, 6.5mm needle. I did do the German short rolls for the neck as well. We'll see how this goes because I don't like things right, you know, I'm not a mock turtleneck type of person, but I can wear turtlenecks and I can wear scarves as long as they're not touching like right here. So we'll see how it goes. I haven't tried this on yet because I have it on a really short circumference, but it's looking beautiful. And it looks like it has a really wide circumference on the neck. And this yarn is super drapey. Super, super drapey. Is it the right choice for this project? I don't know. I was looking ahead and I was like, what size should I make it? And then I was looking at because it's a very oversized, drapey, depending on which kind of yarn you're using, drapey garment. And my original thought was I was going to do a size 2, which is a 48-inch bust. But knowing that this yarn can like really become flowy and drapey, I might go down to a size 1, a 46-inch bust. I have some time to think about that. Because I don't want it to be like, I don't want it to be so big that it looks sloppy. You see what I'm saying? I'd rather err on the side of caution for a smaller size because of the nature of this yarn. It is a mixture of alpaca, wool, and acrylic, and the alpaca just, it drapes so well. And if you see this right here, look how much it stretches. I mean, so I am a little nervous about blocking it, to be perfectly honest. Anyway, live and learn. But maybe the smaller size would do it justice. I really love their little eyelets. And maybe it'll be perfect for over a dress. It's a very fun pattern. I will tell you, I made a mistake last night. It says, I'm going to read the directions. The second round of these stitches, or it's the first round actually. I'm on the second round right now. These like slip stitches right here, it says knit 1, insert right hand needle between first and second stitch on left hand needle and draw through a loop to create a new stitch. Knit 2. Repeat. So I thought, okay, cool. So I knit one, and then I looked at the left hand needle, and there was 2 stitches, and I went in between. But what I think it meant was you knit one, and between first and the second stitch, which is on the right hand needle, you're supposed to pick up a stitch. I'm not changing it, because on the next time you do this, it's round 30, it says knit one, insert right hand needle from front between second and third stitches on left hand needle, and draw through a loop to create a new stitch. Knit 2. That's essentially what I did for both rounds. I'm keeping it, and I don't care, because it's going to look basically the same. Okay, I don't even think you can tell. Let's see if I can stretch it. So it's right here. You'll be able to see it later, because I can barely tell right now. Anyway, it's going well. It's lovely. I love this pattern. It is so much fun. I cannot wait to try this in a different yarn and see how it comes up with that one. And you know, people tend to make a lot of these, and I understand why. It goes quick. The instructions are pretty detailed. You have to make some decisions, but relatively speaking, it's all laid out for you. So lovely. Now, the last thing I'm going to discuss is a new possible cast on that may or may not be happening soon. I originally showed this a while ago, and I did 2 gauge swatches. The first gauge swatch is a US 7. I created this a US 7 4 square. Knit Picks has 4 square needles, which are actual square needle. I have a US 6 here, and they're supposed to help with hand tiring. So the square helps with like the more plant-based fibers. And this is a mixture of silk and something else. Silk and linen, I believe. I do not have a ball band here. I have ball bands for other things in my bag, but not that one. I have a lot of this yarn. I got this yarn. It's Barocco Chai, which I believe is discontinued. I could be wrong. But I got this yarn from Little Knits in Seattle. Not sponsored, just like the company. They're another company that has great customer service. So this, I leave a long tail, and then I make knots over here. I tried different ways of remembering how many stitches per the needle, blah, blah, blah. And I would always screw up remembering what needle I used for which gauge swatch. But then I had this idea where I put these knots here, and now I know I use a US 6 because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And over here I have 7. Now, we'll just do this. I am the board. I don't like the 7. The 7 looks too wonky, too airy for what I'm thinking of. I do have quite a bit of this yarn. I got it like 80% off. They have a clearway section on Little Knits, or sometimes I'm on their email list too. So here's my pen. When I did this originally, I had a US 7, and I got 20 stitches per 4 inches. I think I fudged. I think I was like, it's like 4.5, but we'll just go up to 5. However, with this, I actually got 5.5 to 5 stitches per inch, which would be 22 stitches. We're going to go 5 to 5.5 per inch. Which is 22 stitches if I go 20 to 22 for 4 inches. Now, I'm planning to do a top-down raglan from Ann Budd in her spreadsheet books. I started a top-down raglan using Lion Brand's 24/7 cotton worsted weight, and that was horrible. That was like wearing like chainmail. It was so heavy. So I am going to go with the size 6. It does create a more cohesive, less airy pattern. It'll still have quite a bit of a drape, quite a bit of stretch, but it'll just, I'm hoping, hold its shape better. So that is my new cast on project. Do I have a ton of other stuff I want to finish? Of course I do, because that's just the nature of things. So anyway, my dog is destroying the carpet over on the other side. She's making a nest. Now, Friday, we took a road trip and we went up to Baldwin, Wisconsin, and that's about an hour away. And we did some stuff, and then one of the things we did was stop at a thrift store. I've never been to this thrift store before in my life, and the first thing I always check out is the craft section. And my daughter really liked this. I said, really? She said, yeah, I really like it. And I said, all right. It was $1. So I hope it has all the pieces. I haven't even looked at it, to be perfectly honest. I thought, it looks pretty, it looks like it hasn't even been like really used. It looks like somebody bought it. And at the time that they bought it, it was $7.95. It looks, oh, it would fit her for sure, because it's like extra small, small, and medium. So there's that. And then I bought some quilt patterns. I saw this. Hold it straight. And it, you know, really cute. Originally it was $8.50 and I got it for $1. And then they had one, oh, there you go, for barn. I really wish they had the round barn or this one, but they didn't. They only had this one. Thought that was cute. And then these are either wall hangings or you know, table decorations, because they're smaller. You got the birds and bees and flowers. It's really cute. And you could possibly modify it to be all the way across and maybe do something over here, or, you know, I don't know. I think this is a wall hanging. I got this for $1. I don't know what it was originally. And then I got this one, chickadees. That was also $1. I was like, this is rocking. This place rocks. And then the last thing I got in the craft section, they did have yarn, but it was all acrylic. They did have some, what do you call it, embroidery floss, and they had some needles, and they had other stuff, you know, for like cross stitch or whatever. And then I got log cabin quilts. And this was $1. I'm like, I am so happy. And then we got some other stuff. My daughter got some stuff as well, but I'm not going to show that. And then I was walking around looking, and I saw these 2 bowls. And I don't know about you, but I always have like in the back of my mind, if I ever go to a thrift store and I see A, B, or C, I'm going to get it. And I've been really wanting wood bowls. I want to use these to, when I'm working on something, I'd like to have like my clips in here. Instead of like a small, I can just put them in here, and they're heavy. They're heavy. I didn't really want to eat out of them. Although you could put like, say, nuts or whatever. It has a nice finish. But I thought, these are nice and heavy. I could use them to anchor things down. And I got 2. And then we were wandering around. And then we went back to that same area, and I saw 2 more. Now these were $2.99 a piece. I mean, $3 a bowl. I was like, these are mine. These 4 things are mine. I really, really like them. They just feel right in my hand. So I got those bowls. I was like tickled pink. I was so happy. And then we were wandering around again, and it's not a very big thrift store, but you know how like you wander and then you see something after a while? I don't have it with me, but there's this green, maybe I'll take a picture of it. There's this green vase that we bought. My daughter really liked it, and I saw it, and I'm like, we had that when I was a kid. So I got that. But the piece of I can't say it. The thing I have been wanting for so long appeared in front of my eyes after walking past it probably about 10 times. Now, I do like to can and make jams and other things, and I wanted a food mill. And I didn't want to buy a new food mill. I wanted an old food mill because what if power was not a situation that, you know, I'm thinking of the future. What if it breaks? What if, you know, a manual thing would be so much better? I did buy one from Farm and Fleet, and I even read the reviews that it said came rusty, and I thought they probably let it sit in a wet barn or something. No, the one that I bought from Farm and Fleet was rusty. I didn't open it up until after the return date had passed, and now I'm stuck with something rusty, which is going to end up in a metal recycling thing that's close to my school. Anyway, an old-fashioned food mill with no rust whatsoever. You put this over your bowl or pan or whatever, and then you put your fruit or tomatoes or whatever, and you do this, and it gives you all the stuff that you want and keeps the peels and seeds inside. I am tickled pink. And on the side here, if I can show it, it says works $7.99. And I went, mine. So those are my thrift store finds, and that is what I'm going to leave you on. Even came with this awesome, I don't know, is this a pestle? It is just so awesome. I'm so excited to have it in my collection of stuff and to take care of it. I can just imagine some grandma using it for years, and then when they cleaned out grandma's house, they're like, who needs this? We don't need this. Well, I need it, and I thank you very much for selling it to me. So on that fine note, I hope everyone is staying cool. Take care. Have fun. Bye for now.